What's up, informed mystics? Welcome to the High Priestess and the Hierophant. And we are your co-hosts, Erika and Drew. First, I think we should introduce ourselves, and then we'll get into our relationship and what it is we're trying to do here on this channel. So, Erika, go ahead.
Sounds great. So, hi, I'm Erika, and I previously had a channel on YouTube called Raw Spirit, where I spoke about my tarot practice and my pagan spiritual practice. I have a tarot reading business, erikafarmertarot.com, and I've been a tarot reader for about 30 years and a pagan for 18 years, and Drew is one of my favorite people in the whole world, so I'm super excited to come on and chat about all the wonderful stuff that we have in common in the realm of spirituality and mysticism.
I am Drew. I am on YouTube, She Who Walks Between the Worlds, have been for a few years. I have a second channel, Creations from the Hallow, that's attached to my business, my husband and I. We have a website and we sell witchy wares, basically. We've been doing that since 2007, and that's about the time that's the same year that I actively started walking my pagan path and that I started practicing witchcraft. My path has gone through a lot of evolutions recently, and so that part is changing drastically. But I am also very excited to have this channel with Erika. Real quick, we have some social media plugs. The link to her website and my website will both be in the description, but on top of that, we have a TikTok and a Instagram for this channel that the links will be down below. They're not really active yet, but they will be moving forward. And you can also find me, as I said, on YouTube and on TikTok, She Who Walks, and on Instagram, Creations Hallow, and those links will be below as well. So to segue, Erika and I met each other on YouTube and sort of developed this longstanding friendship through that platform.
Yep, we did. It's been wonderful. One of my goals when I came onto YouTube was to find like-minded people and build friendships, because I'd always struggled with finding people who, were on similar paths that I had things in common with in my adult life. So, I was so lucky that I met you, and I met a couple other wonderful people who are still friends that I talk to basically every day, who were also part of the witchy and tarot and pagan YouTube communities. So, it's just wonderful. And we've had such deep conversations, you and I particularly, about spirituality and mysticism, that, it just made so much sense to bring those conversations back to the place where it all started and share them with the community, because I think there's a lot of people out there that will resonate with our experiences, even if they have their own unique path and it's very different. There's an underlying commonality and theme, and you so wonderfully, Drew, came up with this concept of informed mysticism that explains that so well.
That's kind of, the channel does basically have a theme, I guess. We are not going to be a tarot channel. I know that that's like, some people might jump to that conclusion based on the title and our little logo, if you will. But really, it's what the cards embody. And I will leave Erika to talk about that, because she's much more, in touch with that kind of thing than I am.
Right. And I think, I would add that if people want tarot content from me specifically, that I do have a blog, and if people desire, I can revive my existing YouTube channel and talk more about tarot nerd kind of stuff. But in terms of the name of the channel, it was actually Drew, you came up with the idea of using these two cards. And it was a beautiful idea, because I think for me, the idea of the mystic is very much aligned with the High Priestess energy. She's all about that inner journey, and she's all about, being silent and connecting with the divine and all the esoteric, wisdom that comes along with that. Whereas the Hierophant is more, in my mind, connected more to the exoteric, religious practices and traditions. And so from the point of view of somebody who's on a spiritual journey, where they very much identify with that High Priestess path, and they're very interested in that mystical kind of internal journey and direct connection with the divine, at the same time, they may also look externally to traditions or communities or, history, mythology to validate those experiences. So those two cards come together so nicely as a symbolic and visual interpretation of the concept of informed mystic. And, you know, the other layer to that is that tarot is a tool we use for divination, which is, you know, by definition, a conversation with the divine. And it's a tool that we use symbols to communicate. So this is a symbolic representation of the concept of informed mystics, which you came up with. So it's such a beautiful way of expressing that to those who are in the know and who speak that symbolic language.
And my thinking was, if they see this title or they see this logo, they'll automatically at least be in our wheelhouse, or, you know, they'll know the genre we're in, right? Even if they don't understand exactly what we're trying to convey with the title. And like the subtitle is basically, exploring informed mysticism, which, you know, you basically just went into this idea that we have these personal mystical experiences that shape us and shape how we interact with divinity and our lives and our spiritual paths. But we choose to check those with outside external sources, whether that be established tradition or mythology or the like, or it be someone else's experience, like each other's experience, you know, whatever.
Right.
So that's the kind of lens that we'll be using with this channel, because it's the kind of lens that we just naturally use anyway. We've discovered about each other and ourselves through our discussions. And so, you know, what kind of stuff can we expect from the channel? What kind of topics are we going to tackle?
Yeah. So before I comment on that, I would add that at the time that you came up with this concept and we were talking about doing a channel, I was reading a book by Morgan Daimler on Irish paganism, and she coined a term in that book, verified personal gnosis versus unverified personal gnosis. And I think that term actually really sums up well what the informed mystic is, or what that path is, that you have this personal gnosis component, but you're not just leaving it as unverified. You're going out and you're finding ways to verify it, and you described a few of those ways, and I did. And I think that's exactly what Morgan Daimler was talking about in her book. So there was some synchronicity there in terms of how this concept kind of became, explicit in our conversations, and that led to this channel. So in terms of the type of topics that we would cover, I mean, I think it's great because it's such a big umbrella. There's so much we can talk about. We can talk about divination, as we've mentioned a little bit, magic, we can talk about,
psycho-spiritual practices.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Add some in there.
Yeah, personified deity, like you said. All kinds of stuff from like quantum physics to crystals to, whatever, because you and I have very different interests, although they overlap a lot. And so there are so many topics, any occult topic, anything is pretty much up for discussion, even if it isn't strictly under that umbrella. Because like we've discussed, at some point we're going to be talking about sort of how we are unconsciously influenced by societal things that are completely outside of our control from the time we're itty bitty, depending on where we grow up in our culture and what have you. And so there's a lot to unpack, but we're always going to sort of come at it through this filter that we're talking about, because that's where we stand. So the topics are many and varied, but it's always going to come back to this core element of this informed mystic standpoint that we have.
Right. And I think, sorry, go ahead.
No.
I was just going to say, I think that although we're both on, pretty much a pagan or polytheistic kind of path, that I think informed mysticism is more about a way that you experience the world, or, almost like a philosophical kind of approach to life, and that you could apply that filter to any spiritual path, any religious tradition, and
absolutely
look at it through that lens. So, yes, that gives such a wide range of topics, which is wonderful because it allows us to, have guests on with all different perspectives and different experiences, because we're both, on a similar spiritual path in terms of paganism, polytheism, things will obviously lean in that direction, but it just, it's a great foundation for so many variety of interesting conversations.
That's what I was about to say. Interesting conversations. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's the gist of it. We were always having these really great, interesting conversations, and we're like, we know that there are other people who think about these things and talk about these things. Why don't we just share and put it out there in a way that we can interact with others, whether, again, that be guests on the channel or through the comment section or what have you. And so that's just kind of the idea. We want to have a Patreon involved with our channel. Yeah, please do.
Yeah. So I think the Patreon will give us an opportunity. The Patreon, is that how you say it? A Patreon account will give us the opportunity to give a more kind of intimate look into our own personal spiritual journeys, and we can share more detail about that in that space. It's, more private space, and I think it gives us an opportunity also to elaborate on certain topics that are discussions that have been of interest and kind of unpack them a little bit more, dive deeper into them. Also a platform where we can do, I can do some, readings for people depending on their level of support. And I think we had talked about doing live streams on Patreon versus on YouTube. So it's just another platform where we can interact more and dive more deeply into some of these topics.
Yeah. And from our perspective, with people who are really here for it, especially the live streams, they can get messy, and we're just not interested in that.
Yeah, for sure. No drama. Yeah, so I think that'll be great. I think it's going to add another level and add an opportunity to actually build an active community, or interactive, I should say, community. So right. I'm really looking forward to that. And I love pulling cards for people. So any chance I get, I'll be doing that. So it'll be a good place. Not that there's not an opportunity for me maybe to do a little bit of that on the YouTube channel, but definitely for people who are actually in our audience, Patreon would be, I think, a good place to do that.
Yeah. So we have pretty big plans, and, hopefully it all goes smoothly. We were super excited about it, and we hope that all of you who are watching this will be excited about it too. If you are, please subscribe and, check out our social medias if you're into that kind of thing, and follow along with us and take this journey with us, and hopefully we'll all have a good time. Is there anything else you want to add, Erika?
I'm already having a good time. That's about it. I look forward to talking with you and meeting some other people who are on similar paths and have a similar outlook on life, and it'll be great, and hopefully we'll have some fun guests come on board. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, until next time, keep exploring.
Keep exploring.